Morning, everybody. Every state has its own story, doesn't it? And part of each state's story is how it joined the Union, either through settlement, like the original 13 colonies, or through western expansion, Louisiana Purchase, war with Mexico, etc. Well, today I'm going to talk a little bit about Hawaii becoming a state and some of the drama involved with that. Hawaii is part of the Pacific Island group of Polynesia, and it sits at the top of it. The first Europeans to cross the Pacific were the Spanish under Magellan. We don't think the Spanish who followed Magellan got as far north as Hawaii, up at the Tropic of Cancer. So we're pretty sure that the first European to see Hawaii was Captain Cook. These are the routes Captain Cook took in his lifetime of sailing around the world 3 different times. He called Hawaii the Sandwich Islands after his benefactor, the Earl of Sandwich. We call it, of course, the Hawaiian Islands after the big island of Hawaii, which is in the south. After Cook, whalers and explorers came to Hawaii, and in the early 1800s, a missionary group, which met here at Park Street Church in Boston, sent missionaries to the Sandwich Islands, as it's noted here on this plaque on the front of the church. They left Boston in 1819. They arrived in Hawaii in 1820, built this church out of local lava rock, which is quite common, but they put a New England steeple on the top of it. So that's a nice reminder that these were New Englanders. One of the things the missionaries did was develop the Hawaiian alphabet of 12 letters, which is still being used today. Another thing the missionaries did was establish a leper colony up on the island of Molokai. About 8,000 people were here between 1860 and 1960, roughly. No longer used. A lot of debate about what to do with this property because it's quite hard to get to. There are really no roads to it. Well, there was a Hawaiian Dynasty. This is the statue of their king in front of the Capitol building in Honolulu. And also during this time period, many Japanese are coming to Hawaii as well as Chinese. And so it's a multi-ethnic group living on the islands, and the big focus for the immigrants was to harvest sugarcane. Sugarcane was awfully hard to harvest. If you said you worked in the sugarcane fields, people right away knew you had backbreaking work. There's very little sugarcane left in Hawaii today. This is a picture of some abandoned sugarcane fields, and as far as I can tell, there's one factory left in Hawaii that makes sugar from sugarcane. Well, into our story, the king of Hawaii, Kalakaua, is forced in the 1880s to accept a constitution which gives most of the power to the white elites from Europe and United States. So here he is in the middle, basically a figurehead. His sister, Queen Liliuokalani, would like to get her power back, but one day the USS Boston shows up with its Marines, and they basically stage a coup and overthrow the Queen, and a Dole family member related to Dole Pineapple becomes the governor. Well, our president, President Cleveland, was outraged by this, so he set everything on hold. He did an investigation, thought it was unfair what happened to the Queen, but then he left office, and William McKinley became president. McKinley was very pro-business, and the sugarcane people in Hawaii wanted to become part of the United States because there was a tariff on sugar. And if Hawaii became part of the U.S., then that tariff would be dropped or lessened. So here's Queen Lil listening to her country being annexed by the U.S. Senate on this date, August 12, 1898. It now becomes the territory of Hawaii, which it stays until 1959, when it becomes a state. So when I was born, there were 48 stars in the American flag. So when you visit Waikiki Beach, you see beautiful Diamond Head in the background. Think about what a dramatic history Hawaii has had in such a beautiful place.